Hey there, welcome to Takeaway with Sam Oches, a podcast from Nation's Restaurant News. I am Sam Oches, editor-in-chief here at NRN, and this is the show where I give you an all-access pass to the restaurant industry's most influential decision makers. This week I'm talking with Farrah Scott, the CEO of Trapper's Sushi Company, a full-service sushi joint based in Washington State that has grown to 15 locations across 3 states. Farah has a remarkable story as she recently was named CEO, but she started as a server at Trapper's 11 years ago and worked her way up into the chief executive role. But her story is not an anomaly. Trapper's has a long track record of developing its employees, which includes a more recent program of providing employees with an opportunity to own their own stores. Farah joined the podcast to talk about Trapper's ambitious employee ownership goal and how it has built an infrastructure for its culture that has led to turnover rates that are half the industry standard. In this conversation, you will learn more about why you should consider your employees to be your future owners, why you should embrace constant evolution in order to achieve your goals, and why you sometimes need to prioritize the needs of your consumers over authenticity. Jumping now into my interview with Trapper's Sushi Company CEO Farrah Scott. Also, don't forget to stick around after the interview as I will share my 6 takeaways from this discussion, actionable insights that you can take with you on the go. Okay, I'm here with Farrah Scott, the CEO of Trapper's Sushi Company. Farrah, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, so Farrah, exciting news, which is that you've just been elevated to the CEO position, but you've been with Trappers for several years, and we're going to get into that. But as a brand based in Washington State, as I was telling you, I'm on the East Coast, so I wasn't too familiar with Trappers. For those who might not be familiar with this brand, give us a little synopsis of what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. So the company is 20 years old this August, and we started out in Bonnie Lake. It's a probably town that you never heard of in Washington. And at that time, it was called Sushi Town. Trapper O'Keefe, the founder, opened the restaurant with his best friend, Tim. They came from working in a casino at making sushi at a sushi bar, and they're running that restaurant. Essentially, they built their fan base and their business just off of, building guest relations with their customers, learning the customer's name, building a really good rapport. And then it just kind of blew up. They opened their second location a few years later in Covington. And that one was the first official Trappers, if you will. And then it just kind of skyrocketed from there. They ended up rebranding the Bonnie Lake one then to Trappers to be consistent. And then we opened third, fourth, fifth, 6th, 7th, 8th when I came on. It was it's pretty crazy, and it just took off from there. We're now in 3 states. We have 11 locations in Washington. We have 3 in Arizona, going on 4 next month, and then 1 in San Antonio, going on a 2nd in Texas in June. So our mission at Trappers is to provide the guests with the best food and service possible, leaving them with a craving to come back and learning their names. And that's kind of how we've built our brand and stayed successful. We're super well known in Washington State. We're, I think, the only sushi chain left up here. So we have a lot of fan base, and we're trying to build that in the other 2 markets right now. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. So is this all corporate growth, or are you franchising it all, or it's all corporate?
So the interesting thing about Trappers and what makes us very different from a lot of competitors, corporate and just mom and pop sushi restaurants, is the majority of our stores are corporate owned. Our San Antonio location that opened at the end of 2022, that is our first employee owned partnership. So Trapper we implemented a program where he's giving opportunity to employee-owned partners, and he's going in at a 49-51 split with them and essentially gifting them that opportunity. So no money up front on the employee side, and they work it off, and then they get to split the profits with them. And our operator down in San Antonio, he was the first one to receive that opportunity. We awarded him that in 2017. It took us some years to figure out how we were going to do it, but we did it finally. And our second employee owned is going to be the one that we open in Arizona next month. And that is going to a wonderful woman that's worked for us for, I think, going on 7 to 8 years, and someone that we actually named our leadership growth program after in the company. So great opportunities here at Trappers.
Yeah.
So yeah, so 2 of the 17 that we'll have by summer are going to be employee-owned partnerships, which is super exciting. Our goal is to have 100 employee-owned partnerships.
That's awesome, and let's go ahead and stick right here for because this is why what really jumps out at me about Trappers is the investment that you are putting in the people, and it includes you. Now, you started
Mhm.
as a server for Trappers, is that right? And you
Yes,
worked your way up to CEO.
yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So that's
Um,
very exciting and very
yeah.
unique. And I guess I would start by asking, like, was that a part of this culture that clearly is very dedicated to employees? Were you a part of this investment that you guys seem to be putting into employees?
So, that's an interesting question. So I came on board with Trappers when I was 21 years old at a Bremerton location. It was a very small location. None of our locations look like that conceptually now. They're a lot larger, but I think we were at store number 6 at that point. And coming in, there was no talk about all this opportunity that there was at hand. Basically, it was a great concept. We were making good money as hourly staff, tip wise, and it was really cool, seeing people like me making sushi, learning that, from dishwashing to making sushi, 21, 22-year-old guys being able to make a great wage in the restaurant industry, and then being a server involved in that. It was just really cool. And I think over time, as I worked here and worked my way up, it kind of just grew into this huge employee opportunity. And I think the founder, Trapper O'Keefe, that was always his passion, was to help people in the restaurant industry, provide opportunities that they wouldn't really have. But it really just started coming into fruition as we grew more and more, and we decided to make huge culture changes within the organization. And I'd like to say that I was a big part of that for sure. And I mean, a lot of the people that work for us still and that have been with us for a long time have kind of set that tone for the business. It's very tight knit here where, everybody that's worked here, that's been around for 11 years or 8 years, like myself. It's kind of like we've all watched each other grow up. It's kind of crazy. And
Yeah.
there's so many key people that have worked here for a long time. And it's just a really cool dynamic. And, coming on, I didn't know that I was going to be the CEO of this company. And I'm sure a lot of the people that are in leadership roles, and our partner down in San Antonio, had no idea that it was gonna turn into that. And yeah, it's just amazing. It's just an amazing company, and to be able to have watched it turn into that when it's just started as just a job restaurant, cool concept, into something a lot bigger is amazing. So
Well, and
yeah,
credit to whoever identified the leadership qualities in you. Clearly, somebody recognized that and invested in you and gave you that
yeah.
opportunity. But I'm curious about sort of the structure of it because
Mhm.
I was doing some research and I was learning about the trap check program you guys have. It seems like you guys do have some structure to how you invest in employees. I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so in about I believe it was 2018, the founder Trapper O'Keefe, he wanted to set some core values in his mission statement. That's when he came up with his mission statement in clarity, what I just recited to you earlier, and then the trap check is kind of our core values. So it's pretty basic and pretty, you would like to think, common sense, when conducting yourselves, but it stands for teamwork, respect, accountability, professionalism, communication, honesty, and kindness. And it's all over the place at Trappers. It's in our employee handbooks, the management training materials, everything like that. We really, really pushed really hard with it when we implemented it in 2018. And it was kind of the missing piece that Trappers had. We all knew that the people that were conducting themselves that way were the ones that were getting these internal promotions, that had this, elevated growth with the company. But to put it down on paper and make it a requirement in order to stay employed here even was huge. We have a leadership program that started I started it in January 1st of 2022. So it's still pretty new. It's called the Wingfield program. And that program is kind of like a extension of our culture. And I have about 80 people in the company enrolled in it right now. And it's for anybody in the company that is interested in the same growth opportunity that I myself had, or the woman that I named it after, Mariah Wingfield, what she had in the company, going from a host to a regional manager in less than 5 years was her experience. So that kind of ties into the whole trap check mentality, the mission statement, Trapper's purpose, and it provides ordinary people with an extraordinary opportunity, and that's Trapper's purpose for this company. Um,
So then tell me.
so
Oh,
mhm.
yeah, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. Oh, so I mean,
Yeah.
all of that, it just kind of all intertwines together, and everything's kind of came, with pieces, so, it's the trap check, and then it's the, Trapper's purpose and the Wingfield program and our mission statement. It all kind of intertwines. And, the 80 people that we have in our program right now, the Wingfield program, they all embody those values. And we decided to start that program just so we could start, showing the progression. They talk about me and, oh, she went from server to CEO in 11 years. But we also have several people that went from assistant management to regional management in less than 2 years, So it's just a big group of people that have had similar stories, and are in line for that next opportunity.
Well, there's only one CEO job. So you're not going to create a structure to show how people can get to CEO. However,
Yes.
you can create a structure to show them how they can become a regional manager. And that's where I love that ownership program. Tell me about how something like that comes together, because I imagine at some point Trapper's asking himself, do I want to take outside investment? Do I want to franchise? You look at the growth path available. At some point, there must have been that conscious decision made. Why don't we grow with a quasi franchise
Mhm.
structure, but keep it in house to our people? What was the thought process that went into developing the ownership program specifically?
So he did entertain, just a normal franchise model where some get sold out, some employees have opportunity and things like that. But it was really came down to just providing that extraordinary opportunity. I mean, an ownership program to go in as a partner with him is such a huge thing that a lot of people in the restaurant industry would never have an opportunity to do. The level of support that we give to the employee owned partnerships, I mean, they have all of the corporate team at their disposal for anything that they need. It's set up so, I mean, the selection process for it, it's pretty intense. We're not just throwing people into it, but I mean, we're setting them up so it's almost impossible for them to fail in that ownership role. And I think it's more of a comfortability thing too, to go in as a partner with Trapper in that. um it ensures that our brand is going to be consistent, and the people that are running these stores are true trap checkers, is what we like to say, and bought into the business. And again, it's just such an amazing opportunity. And I think it's a little less intimidating for these employee owned partners to go in as a partner with somebody that's been running the business, that can help with legality things, can answer questions. And it's more of that partnership and team than just here you go, here's this, it's on you now, you're going to run it, good luck.
Hmm.
It's more of just what Trappers is about, is staying tight knit like a family, and really you know driving the growth of the business and success together.
Well, clearly, if there's still a 51-49 split, Trapper still has a sizable amount of skin in the game here. So it's in the company's best interest to make sure that works. You talked about some of the trap check, the core values. Um, uh, Tell me about some of the specific traits you're looking for in somebody that you would award this ownership to, and how long. I mean, you said it's been like 7 years since you identified the first one. How long does it take to say, oh, this person's got what it takes, to the point where you're handing them keys?
Well, luckily for us, the two partners that my boss has signed on with, they're no brainers. They're 100% trap check employees, hardest working people I've ever worked with. Both of them um, are so invested in the business that you can just tell that they care about the customers, their employees. A big thing that sets us apart is our relationships that we build within the organization with our employees, and the care that we have for them. And I think that's a big part of offering somebody an ownership opportunity, is if they're going to take care of their people. Because if they're taking care of their people are going to take care of the guests, and it's going to be a more of a successful operation. But it's one of those things where we have the interview process that we've done. We have this criteria of, they have to get through, at the minimum general management training so they know how to operate. But ultimately, it comes down to them embodying our culture and just being a good person and somebody that we trust to run the business. And I'm speaking for Trapper, but when he signed on with Josh in San Antonio, it was almost like he had no nervousness, no fear, no doubt in him. It's such a so much confidence in him to run the store how it's supposed to be ran. And hopefully he has more opportunity to sign on for a second, third one in the future. But yeah, I mean, it's such a unique opportunity that we haven't really had any doubts with the two that we've given so far. And we're hoping that with this Wingfield program and building that trust within that leadership program, and we have these people ready to step up, we have the front runners, and we already know who's going to be next up for the offer. So I think that program has helped the selection process a lot, because during those meetings, they come in every 6 months to do like a leadership like workshop with me, if you will, where we just talk about, that's why the board behind me, we just talk about what it means to be a Trapper's leader, what sets us apart from other businesses. And I go over some things that are happening in the company, challenges that I'm having in my position. If they have any ideas to help, we have everybody here in corporate, marketing department, IT, HR, and we're all having a big discussion with these hourly or store level employees. And they're bought in. They're giving feedback, they're interactive, and you can kind of tell who's, more at that elevated level, ready to take the next step in their career here. And it's really awesome to see.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of examples of how this has really helped? I'm sure it helps retention, right? And in this era where labor is so tough, this kind of a model is exactly what restaurants should be thinking about doing to recruit and retain employees. Have you seen that that's had a really tangible effect on retention?
Absolutely. We have an HR department here, and we keep track of retention and turnover and things like that. And our turnover is half of what the industry standard is right now
Wow.
here at Trappers, which is insane. And I think it has a lot to do with the growth opportunity. I mean, the fact that, the majority of people that are in general management positions right now for our company started out as an hourly, dishwasher, cook, server. Employees getting onboarded to that, they see that. And one thing that I've noticed just over the 11 years that I've worked in this company, I've been in the restaurant industry probably for only 13. I mean, I pretty much grew up here, but a lot of people were coming in working at the restaurant, and they were in college, or they were in, doing something else as a pastime. They were still living with their parents, they were just trying to get money for their weekends or whatever. And I've noticed that a lot more people are coming into our business that they just really don't know what they want to do. And
Mhm.
then, they start enjoying the job here. They enjoy the restaurant industry, and maybe they thought they were going to have a career in a different field someday, but then they end up realizing like, oh, wow, I can stay in the restaurant industry and have a career, and,
Yeah.
make a livable wage, and move up and have a purpose and help others do the same. And it's been super powerful, I think, for our brand and for retention for sure. And the key people in our company have stories similar to mine. And they're the ones that are leading this, and for their subordinates to see that, it's amazing for some people that, would never think that they could be a general manager of a store or a partner or part of a corporate team ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you just got to show it to them to get them to buy in and to
Yeah.
understand how that can be possible. Well, and you are this great model of what could be for restaurant employees. And I'm curious about what you feel like you've learned on your journey, because going from server to CEO in 11 years, you must have such a distinct perspective on what you can bring to Trappers, how you can relate to employees, how you can continue to develop that culture. Tell me about some of those lessons. What are some of the things you feel like you can bring to this position as CEO that you brought with you along the way?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that I look at that. And depending on what stage somebody's at in their career in the restaurant industry, it depends on my answer. Because I've done so much and I've held so many positions in the last 11 years, store level and in corporate, just different. It's really contingent on where they're at. And when hourly employees, I've had a couple come up to me in the past when I was COO previously for the last 2.5 years. They're like, "Oh my gosh, what's your advice for me?" And hourly employees, I'm like, be dependable, come here on time, be the person your manager can call, and have a great attitude while you're here. It's pretty basic, right?
Yeah.
And, treat others well, follow the trap check. And then when it gets up to, my corporate team and, coaching them, it's just essentially, like do the right thing, do what is supposed to get done. Doesn't matter who's looking, just do it, get the job done. It might go unnoticed, or you feel like right now, but it's got to pay off, and it's hard, getting that through to some people in this industry because, they're used to working in places that maybe there's not a whole lot of opportunity. But like you said, leading with that and saying, this is the opportunity. And, I've learned a lot of things from going from that position to this position, all the in between, working for managers, that maybe I didn't feel like were the best fit for the position, but it never deterred me away from doing what I was supposed to do and my responsibilities. And I think a lot of times in all industries, you get caught up on worrying about what the leader's doing or what they're not doing, or what other people are doing and what you're not getting. And you kind of got to put that aside and focus on your own goals and yourself and keep pushing forward. And it doesn't matter if there's obstacles in your way, you just got to get through them and push through them, and you can. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I think that kind of goes for anybody that's trying to be successful in anything they're trying to do is, there's going to be a lot of distractions. There's going to be a lot of people that maybe aren't performing or doing what you're doing and getting recognized, and you're not. But as long as you keep your head down and you keep pushing through, it's got to pay off in one way or another. It might not be a CEO position, but you're going to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the hardest, the most, well-rounded advice I've given anybody at any level. It's just keep pushing through and don't get distracted. Yeah, it's super important. And I think that was the biggest thing that I learned. And, communicating, effectively when you do see those issues and see those problems, and then leaving it at that, and,
Right.
expressing how you feel, and then that's it, and then get back to work. So.
Yeah. Oh, those are wise words. Wise words. Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of vision you feel like you bring into this position, because again, you've worked so many positions in this company. You've spent 11 years. There must have been some things that you thought about the company, like I think we could do this, or if I was CEO, I'm going to do this. Now that you are CEO, what do you hope to accomplish? What kind of vision do you have for this company that you feel like you can bring into this position?
To start with, a big reason why I'm in the position I am is because I share the founder's vision, and it's to give extraordinary opportunity to ordinary people. I mean, I know I keep saying that, but it's what I've been trying to do since I stepped into the management capacity in 2014 as an assistant manager of a store, right? It's been trying to motivate individuals that are in this industry to want to better their lives and turn it into something bigger than just a job. And, as far as, being the CEO of the company, I didn't apply for the job. It was, I don't think I've ever applied for any position in this company. It's just been offered. And, my boss, I still say he's, Trapper, he sees something in me to lead this company and live out his vision of getting to that 100 stores. And I think dynamically, what I bring to the table as a CEO is just, like I mentioned before, it's just head down and getting the work done that needs to be getting done. I've implemented a lot of structural things in this company the past 8 years that I've been at a corporate capacity, and that have pushed us forward for sure with the help of, a great team, and just continuing that, and not, getting complacent and saying, oh, we're doing well right now, everything seems to be good, but we're not at 100 employee partnership. So there's still work to get done. And that's the mentality I've always had. And I think that that's what I bring to this position. And that's what what Trapper sees, and why he made this decision is because it's one of those things where I'm not going to stop until we get there. So, and then once we get there, there's going to be another goal that was going to be set. And then I'm going to go until I get to that goal. So, I think to dynamically for, team members is to express that to my team directly, and it trickles down saying, hey, we have things to do. Yes, we're operating restaurants on a daily basis, serving food, giving good guest service, but we also have all these goals to reach. And everybody that works here is involved in those goals. I mean, they might not think that they're contributing to those goals, but they are. I mean, us opening the
Right.
restaurants every day, operating, that's what's helping us grow, and providing this opportunity, and making sure that everybody knows how important their piece to this puzzle is. I think is something dynamically that, I would like to really, really convey all the way down to, dishwashers, cooks, sushi chefs, store management, because it's what it is. It's super. They're super important.
Right. That 100 employee-owned restaurant goal you have, that's a lot. I mean, I saw a figure on your website. You have about 700 employees, I think, in the system. Maybe that's more
Yeah.
now. But that's there's a lot of work, and inherently that's a slow process to invest internally. And certainly for a company like Trappers with 15 locations, I'm sure you've had any number of investment groups waving lots of money at you to say, let's like slam the accelerator and skip that whole employee owned thing. Let's just go for 102 years and call it a day.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of intentional growth, I guess, that you have to put into that, and pacing that you have to put into that. How do you ensure that you guys are doing that properly? And you've talked about some of that structure, so not to rehash all of that, but
Mhm.
like even just to say to get to 100 from 15 and do it all through that internal growth. I guess what are some of what's some of that groundwork you have to put in to make sure that the pacing is right? You don't get out over your skis.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, cash flow is a big thing, making sure that we're, the most profitable we could be with the current locations, because ultimately, that's what's going to fund our growth. Operational, standards. I mean, we have ops manuals that, started as, this thick and now are this thick, through the progression of my career here. Ensuring those are fine tuned. Our processes of getting the locations open, the build outs. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. Starting a new market, if we go out of state in a different state, that's even a longer process. So fine tuning with vendors, trying to get on national level accounts for proprietary items that we carry at Trappers. I mean, there's a laundry list of things operationally that we are still fine tuning, because we're at kind of this point where we have the 15 locations going on 17, but we're pushing through this ceiling of, being a national brand essentially. And it's very new. Our first out of state was in 2021 in the summer. And there's a lot of things that come along with that, changes, and, ensuring that the consistency and everything stays the same. Opening a restaurant and putting an operator there that knows what they're doing, that's the easy part. It's all the other back end things leading up to that's
Mm-hmm.
challenging, making sure we're selecting sites correctly based off of, our demographic customer basis and things like that. Just this year, the end of this year, and end of 2023 and beginning of 2024, we're starting to implement a lot of different programs into our workflow for, we're integrating an app right now to improve the guest customer service. We're looking at bringing on, a company that helps us with site selection, things like that it's ever evolving, that we haven't had to think about, but it's all about how we're going to scale this. And to be honest with you, Sam, I have no idea right now how we're going to get to 100. I can't tell you exactly how we're going to do it, but we know we're going to get it done.
Yep.
And it's just being open to that constant evolution, and getting what's out there to offer to help us, assist us, and having those great programs integrated into our workflow and system when we're making decisions, for, more of the operational things leading up. And, luckily we have a lot of great people here at Trappers. And, the people part used to be the part that stressed us out about, how are we going to open even a corporate store over here or over there. But our culture has grown so much and is so strong that, the individual selection, that's almost the easiest part right now. It's all the
Mm.
other things. And so, this year, that's one of my primary goals, is to kind of, fine tune that process a little bit, see how many locations we could realistically open in the next year, the next 5 years, and try to do it at a more accelerated rate, because that's what's going to have to happen ultimately. And it's going to take
Yep.
a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. Big job ahead of you.
Yes.
Fun job. I think you probably have a lot of fun with that, but a lot of
Yeah.
problem solving that you're going to have to be doing along the way. Shifting gears a little bit, I think we should also say, I mean, sushi chain, that is actually fairly rare. I mean, I don't think the sushi category, I think, is primarily a category of independents, less so than multi-units, or at least chain size multi-units. I'm curious about your impression of the competitive set because, you know, you're big in Washington State where fresh seafood and sushi is obviously huge. You've identified the Sun Belt clearly as your
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for growth. I'm sure that's intentional. But what do you view as being sort of the state of the sushi industry and Trapper's role in it?
So Trappers is, a lot of times people are like, Trappers is not real Japanese cuisine. Well, we don't claim to be. First off, we don't
Right.
claim to be a Japanese restaurant. We're a sushi restaurant, and we know that we're very different than traditional Japanese sushi. And I always tell people you can like Trappers and you can also like traditional sushi. So
Right.
that's kind of the message we get out there. As far as you know how it sets us apart. I mean, just the opportunities and the what we give back to the community, which we haven't really talked about, and the things Trappers does internally is really what sets us apart. Food wise, concept wise, I mean, our food's great. It's very, people say it's very Americanized sushi. It is, first time sushi eaters come in and they've never had sushi before. They're going to like something on our menu. It's not intimidating. It's very easy. It's very relatable. The people, the individuals we have serving the sushi, they're very, very well versed in our menu, our products, and things like that. And they can have that conversation with guests and fit them with, what they want. Um, our all you can eat aspect is very different than what a lot of restaurants do, where, the customers can sit up at the sushi bar, order as much food as they want for a set price, and they're not paying by plate or, by ticket or anything like that. They're just receiving an all you can eat experience made to order by a chef. And, we kind of pride ourselves on the chef position a little bit because our chefs are kind of like sushi bartenders, if you will. They're sitting there having that conversation, talking to the guests, building that rapport. And it just kind of sets us apart from a lot of the competition. And it's just just a different experience when you come into Trappers than any other sushi restaurant or any other fast casual restaurant for that matter. It's just different. You walk into a Trappers, you have the sushi bar, front and center. Right when you walk in, you see chefs making food right in front of you. The cooks are right behind them. You can see everything that's going on in the kitchen, and it's just different. It's cool.
Hmm.
And there's a buzz in our restaurants where you kind of hear the conversations going with the chefs over at a table over here. You hear conversations going on over here with this chef. And it's really cool. And I've never been to a restaurant that's anything like it.
So you said sushi bar and fast casual in the same sentence. How would you describe your service model?
So, I mean, like that's, I mean, it's,
That's
it's
it.
pretty, yeah. I mean, it's fast casual restaurant, approachable sushi, is what I like to say. And it's, just that, the fact that we have, an all you can eat dynamic going on with, dine-in service that's, quick and, it's pretty unique, and they have a couple options when they come in as what kind of experience they want. And we take pride in our service standards and things like that with our service staff too. And they're well trained on both service settings. And, yeah, it's just an experience. It's hard to really explain, and the people that are the Trappers fanatics that we have, they love it. They'll
Mhm.
come in twice a week. That's unheard of for, a corporate restaurant chain for customers to be back in multiple times a week and want to sit in front of the same chef and want to have the same experience. And they love it. So,
Well, yeah, it's such an interesting hybrid there because to have a chef right in front of you preparing
mhm.
sushi rolls, you can sit there and watch the chef. I mean, that doesn't scream fast casual to me. So clearly, you guys have taken the convenient nature of fast casual and the fast service and counter service model, but applied a lot of quality to it as well. But tell me about sort of in store operation because are most orders to go? Are most people out of there? Or people like to sit there? A lot of people like to sit at the bar, as you say. What does all of that look like? What's the makeup of your dine in and takeout?
I mean, we're a full service restaurant. I don't know if that was a misunderstanding when I said fast casual, but we're full
Got it.
service. So
Okay.
we have table service, we have the sushi bar service, and then we have to go. After COVID, our to go business kicked up a lot and kind of remained there. I think that happened for a lot of restaurants. Um, Depending on what location, it depends on the to go volume. I mean, we have a big differentiation between locations on to go volume, up here. but we're doing on average about 20% to goes out of our restaurants right now. We do participate in like the third party apps, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and everything like that. And so that's a big chunk of it. But when people mainly are coming in to dine in, I mean, they do table service. A lot of the sushi bar is very, very in high demand. So there's usually long waits for that. You can only get the all you can eat at the sushi bar. But we have people come in for happy hour. I mean, we have people come in for our daily specials, dine in. It's a pretty good balance of all three for the all you can eat, dine in and to goes. We prefer, giving the dine in or the all you can eat experience. I mean, the to go ordering, it's needed, but it's hard to, brand ourselves just off of to goes with our service and things like that. But yeah, I mean, we do pretty well with, having a balance of the all three. Dynamically, that's kind of what sets us apart though, is that we have that table service going on as well as that all you can eat aspect at the sushi bar counter. So it's just a unique experience when you come in.
I was gonna be really blown away if you guys were a straight up fast casual with a sushi chef. That was gonna be really impressive.
No.
I was like, wow. But
No,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, we're full service. Yeah.
Full service. Got it. And so the quality that matches the full service experience. Tell me about innovation, because I understand Trapper himself is a chef, is a sushi chef. But you have these individual chefs in your restaurants who are preparing the food. Obviously, I'm sure you have a very set menu of here are the kind of rolls we can serve. But with a sushi chef within each restaurant, how much flexibility do you give them? Creativity? How much are they in charge of kind of the innovation of the menu at the restaurant?
Yeah, for sure. So we do a lot of like limited time rolls and menu items and things like that. Our food and beverage director likes to get the chefs at the store level involved in that for creation ideas, things like that. A lot of the chefs will hit them up over text or email and say, "Hey, I have this really cool idea for a roll. Will you come in and try it?" And we do that regularly. We go in. I'll be at a restaurant, and a chef's like, "Hey, will you try this roll? I want you to try it. It's really good. It should be on the menu." And I'm like, "That should be on the menu, and we'll put it on." So a lot of the rolls on our menu, on our core menu, have been created from chefs that worked. I mean, almost all of them created by chefs that have worked here. Obviously, Trapper and Timmy, initiated the core menu that we had that started a lot, probably a third of what we have now. But everything else has come from our chefs at store level and their creativity. As far as on a day to day, how much creativity they can have. The all you can eat is a good place for that. We let the chefs kind of, build that rapport with the guests and see what they're looking for in a roll. And as long as it's within reason, we allow them to do, their specialty roll, let the guests choose something, try something that they just made that morning and think is really good. And it's really fun. And, as far as for inventory reasons and operational reasons, as you can imagine, we got to keep some kind of, control over that. But we do allow our chefs to be creative, and it's a lot of fun seeing them passionate about it, especially when, they hit up the food and beverage director and they're like, "Hey man, I have the best roll and I need you to try it," and how excited they are. It's really cool. And we featured a lot of chef rolls in the past 5 years just on our limited times. And like I said, a lot of them have made it to the core menu. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool. A lot of the chefs that are in my program, the Wingfield program, they're very interested in the food and beverage director position if it ever opens. For that reason, the creativity of it, they're just so enamored by it. And the cool thing about that is a lot of the chefs we do have never made sushi before. They were either cooks at a different capacity at a restaurant somewhere else, or we taught them from dishwashing to all the way up to sushi chef. And the ones that do come from a cook background, on a line situation, they're like, "This is so different than cooking. It is, you're like molding food together and creating it." And it's cool to kind of see that click, and then they get passionate about the ingredients and the flavors and things like that going into the sushi. So yeah, we definitely have a lot of creative chefs here. That's one thing that with Trappers that we have that a lot of restaurants don't, because those creative guys are front and center for the guests, and they can kind of talk about, what's up for that day and what they tried this morning or on their lunch, and they can let them sample it out. So it's really cool.
Sure. Oh, that is really cool. All right. So Farah, you and I are talking here at the very beginning of 2024, looking ahead to this year, challenges and opportunities for 2024. Starting with challenges, what do you, as you look at the year ahead, what are some of the challenges that Trappers is facing these days?
I think the biggest challenge is what we talked about a little bit ago, is the scaling of the business. How are we going to get there? And, you know, trying to just improve structurally, I think, is always going to be a challenge, but also, you know, an opportunity, because it's a constant thing. It's never going to stop, where we have to make changes to how we're doing things in each department. Um, but the scaling of the business is something it's going to be the big challenge, and I want that. My goal is for that to be a lot more clear of how that's going to go by the end of this year, and a lot more clarity and confidence of, hey, this is how we're going to grow, and this is how fast we're going to get there. I know we're going to get there, but it's just a matter of having that and being able to convey, okay, this is X, Y, and Z, and this is the changes that need to be made. I think another big challenge is too is, just continuing with the employee engagement, and trying to get more of these employees bought into, what we're doing here at Trappers. We have a great head start, but like I said, it's, a goal will be set, and we just need to surpass that goal. So, having that buy-in and making sure we keep the employees engaged is super important, for everything when it comes to our growth, even to our guest service. So those are the two big challenges that, I've early this year is going to be kind of the top topic for me. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It'll be good. So.
Sure. And then opportunities. What do you see as being kind of the big opportunities that lay ahead for the company?
I mean, opportunities for us to improve, or just
personal
in general?
opportunities, company opportunities. What are some doors you see opening that you would like to walk through, I guess, proverbially?
Yeah, I think building partnerships with these bigger companies that are going to be integrated in helping with our growth is a big opportunity for us. I think that's really going to put us on the map as far as, setting us apart from just being this local restaurant from Washington to that national, recognized brand. It's cool to see. I mean, having meetings just last year with, our marketing department and things like that, and programs that they're bringing in to that, and these big names that are doing marketing for us now. It's really cool to see, and seeing that brand recognition grow, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger as we grow. And I think that's a big opportunity for us, is partnering, and relationships are really big, and important to us at Trappers, from employees to customers to vendors. And I think just seeing those high level vendors flourish with our business, and it's really exciting to see, Trappers as a name that people recognize, all over, and not just in, the South Sound of Washington. And I think in turn, it kind of all connects together, and that's going to help us with our growth and our success.
Well, very exciting. Farrah Scott, CEO of Trappers Sushi Company. Really appreciate your time. Very excited to watch to see all the successes of Trappers and your own personal success. So thanks again for taking some time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That was my interview with Trappers Sushi Company CEO Farrah Scott. So what should you learn from this interview? Here are my 6 takeaways. My first takeaway is that if traditional franchising isn't for you, consider your employees to be your future owners. Trappers has this really cool program that they've really just started in the last couple of years. Farrah went into detail on that program, how they are offering the opportunity for their employees to become owners, and where Trapper, the founder, is providing that opportunity where he puts up all the upfront costs. They have a 49-51 ownership split. And really, Trappers as a company throws all their resources at helping that employee succeed as an owner. They have now one fully functioning restaurant that is owned by somebody who was an employee. They have another one coming up. And the goal, as Farrah talked about, was to have 100 locations owned by people who were employees, came up through the ranks, and became an owner of a Trappers. That is an extraordinarily ambitious goal, but I love that goal, and I love this program. We've seen something similar to this in other companies. You think about somebody like a Raising Cane's and their restaurant partner program, and there are some other chains that have explored this opportunity for employees to essentially become owners. But this one feels to me the most ambitious, and certainly feels the most all in on the employee and their success. Again, Farrah talked about the fact that they want to set it up so that it's essentially impossible for that employee to fail as an owner because of all of the resources that the company gives them in being that owner. And this is an incredible opportunity for employees, and certainly is one that is going to appeal to new employees coming into the system, but of course, keeping existing employees around so that they can potentially become the owner of their own restaurant someday. My second takeaway is that restaurant employees should have a clear view of the opportunity ahead of them. So, of course, that ownership program is one of the programs available to employees that they can see that as a potential in their future. But Farah talked about this Wingfield program that I think is so cool, and this has 80 employees currently in it, and it is essentially the pipeline for future leaders for trappers. So they've created this program to develop these employees, invest in them. They identify that potential in the employee, and now they need to show them what could be ahead. But of course, as Farah said, it's not necessarily the CEO role. Farah herself provides an incredible story of how somebody rose the ranks and became a CEO at Trappers. But there's only one CEO role. Meanwhile, the company still needs regional managers and other C-suite members, and there's plenty of opportunity at Trappers to rise the ranks and have leadership roles, and it doesn't have to be an owner either. This Wingfield program is how they're going to develop those people and lead them to those opportunities. But the point here that I'm trying to make is that it is a very intentional program, a very intentional infrastructure that employees know is available to them, and Trappers has shown them their potential trajectory, and that is critical to investing in employees and to getting them to stick around. Farah talked about the fact that their retention is extraordinary. Their turnover is half the industry standard because likely their employees see what is ahead of them, see the potential of making it a career if they stick around at Trappers. And I think that is a really interesting program that others really should emulate. My third takeaway is that taking care of your people will come back around to you in more ways than one. So piggybacking off of all of these, programs that Trappers is providing, where it comes back to them, of course, is lower retention rates, stronger recruitment efforts. So all the investments they put into employees, they're investing in their future leaders who can do business better. But of course, as we know, when you invest in your people, they will take care of your guests. Taking care of employees takes care of guests. And so Trappers is able to really fortify its position in the full service sushi category and in their local communities by taking care of the employees, because it makes for better, happier employees who take care of guests. So that's one way it comes back around to Trappers. But again, you really can't say strongly enough how much these programs they've developed are critical to the success of this company in the future, because they have this incredible pipeline of future leaders who can sustain the growth that Trappers surely will have in the future. My fourth takeaway is that you should embrace constant evolution as part of accomplishing your goals. Farah has a big job ahead of her as CEO, and she named several of the things she's thinking about these days as they prepare Trappers for growth. Now that they're in 3 states, now that they're scaling, she's thinking about supply chain, she's thinking about technology, she's thinking about all of the things that have to fall into place, this big puzzle she has to put together with help from her team. And she said, part of growth is constant evolution, and you have to embrace that. If evolution and change scare you, or if they put you off or distract you, you're going to have a lot of trouble growing and ultimately accomplishing the goals that you put in front of you, because you're going to be kind of stuck in the past. So, Farah said you have to limit your distractions and you have to focus intensely on that goal. And then all the evolution that comes your way on that journey, just embrace it and roll with it and do what you can to accomplish that goal. If you do that, you have a better chance to succeed, better chance to hit that goal than if you were just, swamped with all of the various distractions and all of the changes. And if you just wanted to hide in a hole and not embrace those. So think about how you can embrace constant evolution as a part of accomplishing your goals. My fifth takeaway is that sometimes you need to prioritize the needs of your consumers over authenticity. What I mean by that is, authenticity, of course, is a huge buzzword these days. I've talked about it a lot in recent episodes. Customers want authenticity. They're curious about what authentic means. We've talked about how, that means something, especially in these days of social media and AI. However, as Farah points out, a lot of people will tell trappers, oh, you're not authentic sushi, you're not authentic Japanese. But she says, they're not necessarily trying to be. They're trying to be more of that Americanized sushi concept, because in the communities they're in, that's what they need to provide. That's what the community is looking for. So that's what I mean when I say you should prioritize the needs of your consumer over authenticity. And I'm not saying you should reject authenticity altogether and kick it to the curb, but consider, especially if you're in a global menu category, consider how much authenticity that your consumers are willing to accept. If it's too authentic, sometimes that could become a deterrent to your customers because they're just not familiar with some of those flavors or formats. If you try to find a happy medium where you bring in some of that authenticity, but you also accept that maybe it needs to have, a little bit more of a spin to it that your customers understand, sometimes you need to do that. So think about how you can really prioritize that, the quality needs of your customer, that great hospitality, great quality, great experience over the authenticity if that's what they're looking for. My sixth and final takeaway is that chefs are a unique brand asset that you should consider making a bigger part of your experience. Chefs have been in the spotlight for many, many years now, so it's not a secret that customers are interested in chefs. But I just wanted to call attention to how Trappers is doing that, because I think it's really cool. Trappers has sushi chefs that Farrah compared to like a sushi bartender, where if you go sit at the bar, you can have this all-you-can-eat sushi experience at the bar, and you're engaging directly with that sushi chef. Not a unique thing necessarily to, of course, there are plenty of authentic sushi restaurants that do this. But just to make the point that, at Trappers, how they've discovered the interest that customers have in that engagement, in that experience, it feels very unique to them to have this sushi provided directly from the chef who's put it together, and that's a main selling point for Trappers in the communities it serves. I think it's really an interesting note, because I think we should all consider how can other restaurants put that to use. Open kitchens have been a big trend for a while now. Of course, that's one way to direct the attention of the customer to the chef and have that accessibility to the chef. But are there other ways you can do that? That sushi bartender was the line that really stuck in my head. Is there a burger bartender, a sandwich bartender that you might employ at your restaurant? How can you really take down the walls between the customer and the chef in a way that creates a unique experience to really engage your customer and get them to come back for more? Those are all my takeaways for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe to Takeaway wherever you listen to podcasts and leave your feedback. You can also email me at sam.oches@informa.com. Thanks again, and talk to you next week.